Hey guys, welcome to Sunshine Foods. As usual, what we tend to share with you here on this channel is natural foods that are coming from where the sun shines and creates amazing healthy foods for us. So as you will notice, most foods from Africa are purely natural, coming from nature, and that's what we focus on creating here, African-based foods. So today we got something exciting for you. We don't have time to go into too much talking, so that's why you're not seeing me in the focus. We're going straight into the kitchen. So today's food is going to be okra egusi soup with fish and stockfish in it. So what I'll do, I'll just introduce you to the ingredients we're going to be using, and then I'll start cooking. So okra is what we've got here. It's already cut, but if you don't know what okra looks like, this is okra in its natural form. All you do is put it on a cutting board and cut them into whatever shape you feel like cutting. Next big thing we're looking at is the fish. So what we have here is tilapia, and what I've done here is I've cleaned it all up, and then I've put it in a solution of salt. What this does is it gives it that salty taste that's what sea fish is about. So you reconstitute like the sea itself by putting salt in water and putting the fish in there. Just give it some time. Some people actually do that overnight, but I've just done this within about 30 minutes, 1 hour, because I'm about to cook. But that'll be entirely up to you if you really want to recreate that sea taste in the fish. So the next thing we have is the palm oil, which we are going to use in making our soup. So again, palm oil comes from palm nuts and it's all nature and it's extremely healthy. Then we got a nice mixture here, which I will tell you what's in here. I've already blended it because I want to go straight into the kitchen. So what's in there? We have onions in there, garlic, we have the egusi itself. This is what egusi looks like, pure whole egusi. They come this way. Now most times people just buy them dried, ground or blended. I won't say blended. Blended is when you add liquid, but dry blend is, or dry ground is when you just grind this without any liquid. So they do have those in packs sold like this, but I generally prefer the whole ones because then I can tell what's in it. When it's all mixed up for you, sometimes you never really know what they mixed in it. Not because you don't trust people, but because it's best not to take chances. The next thing we're going to have there is crayfish. So again, this is whole crayfish. Then again, you get the ground one, and it's up to you if that takes your fancy. Then we have here our Maggi cube, which is just a seasoning or for taste. Some people will argue with you they don't like Maggi. Again, it's down to individuals. Then we have just regular spice herbs. We like to work with rosemary a lot because of the taste. And then we have the regular Italian seasoning. Okay, so this is our stockfish. What we've done, just like that fish, stockfish generally comes really dry and hard. So what most people do way back home, you will soak them overnight in hot water. Now when you do that, it begins to soften, and that's what's happening here. It gets soft and is ready to for you to use it. But when we work with starfish here, we generally use the pressure cooker. Maybe one other day I'll show you how we do that. But you just put it in the pressure cooker, put some water in there, and just cook it. And a few minutes later, it's soft and ready for you. So you either go the long way or you go the short way. But this is particularly for today's cooking. And then the next thing we're going to introduce will be spinach. This is just fresh spinach. All I've done is wash it and sift it through so that it's not full of water when I put it in the soup. Now when it comes to leaves, back home we have, it's like a endless variety of, you know, choices of leaves to use. But for us here in UK, it's mostly spinach, and there's nothing really much that you can add to your soup. So we're working with spinach today. And then of course we're going to add some salt into our food, and that's all our ingredients for you. So we're going straight into the kitchen now. Okay, so what I'm going to do, most times when you're cooking with fresh fish, especially when it's going into soup, is to ensure that it's ready before you put it into the soup. Otherwise, what will happen, you end up stirring the soup, and then the fish breaks into little pieces and is then no longer useful for you, because you will not be seeing your fishes. So for that reason, we're just steaming this fish, ready to insert it into our food when we are going, our soup when we're going to cook it. So all I've done is just add onions and a hint of garlic in there, and I will just steam this slightly just for it to get done, put it away, and then I start cooking. Okay guys, quickly before I carry on cooking, I forgot to mention Scotch bonnet that we added to our mixture. So now our pot is ready, and what we want to do is put so the first thing going in is our oil, palm oil, good size. Just consider what you're cooking. We don't tie you to a measurement. Once that's gone in, you put your mixture, which is the egusi itself. Remember, in this mixture I have so many things. I have onions, garlic, egusi itself, then the Scotch bonnet, all of that. So it saves you having to introduce them separately. So what I'm going to do now is kind of like fry this egusi so it's not looking so damp. The whole point is to release it so it's a bit dryish. And how you achieve that is just allow this to cook slowly in the oil, and that will happen. So we'll just give it some time now to cook slowly out of it. Okay, so our egusi is just frying slowly on fire. Then we're going to add the stockfish in there. Now the whole point is for this stockfish to start picking the taste of what's in the egusi. While you are allowing it to keep frying. Now depending on the pot you're using, you may need to keep stirring this, because if it's not a non-stick pot, it will start sticking. So I always tend to prefer non-stick pots, because it doesn't, depending on the type you have, it doesn't let your stuff or your food get burnt in the pot. So we'll just give it a few more minutes to just keep frying. So okay, you can see how much is fried a little bit. Now most times, depending on the type of egusi you have, they may fry better than this. I'm not going to worry too much about it, because we in the UK, the type of egusi we get are not really what I know as egusi growing up. So I'm going to introduce my crayfish into the mixture cooking. The amount of crayfish you do will again depend on your particular taste buds. What are you looking for? crayfish makes a lot of difference. Most people prefer just crayfish against the Maggi itself. So I'm just throwing in some Maggi now. And all of this is just for taste. So crayfish is preferred back home by most people. I'll just put a hint of herbs. That was rosemary and Italian seasoning. So what I'm going to do now is put just a little bit of water. And what I did was I just put that water in the blender just to wash that out. And to add it to the sauce to create the water base of this soup. Now if you want your soup to be watery, you add more water, because there are people who really like watery based soup. But if you're one who really wants what some people call thick soup, then don't put too much water. So now we're going to put our fish in it. So remember the fish, we steamed it already. So we're just inserting a hole into the soup. The minute fish comes in, be careful with your stirring. I'm just adding the sauce that I used in making the soup. I mean the fish. Now you really will avoid stirring, because if you stir too much, especially with the type of fish we're using, is very bony. So if you stir, what you're going to end up having is bone everywhere. So now I'm going to introduce my okra. Make that heat very low, because if it's still on high heat, it's going to burn the bottom of this pot. So very low heat, and just allow it to steam. Okay, so now we're going to insert our spinach. Now remember, especially for all this fresh stuff like the okra and the spinach, you don't want them to cook that much. It's just, most times it's for color, just to make it look all pretty green and yellow as in egusi. So now take your time when you're stirring that in. Another choice could have been remove your fish and then stir that in before you add the fish back. But I'm just avoiding to do that because I want the fish to definitely get the taste of the soup. So what I'm doing is to make sure I know where I'm pushing my spinach too. And the beauty of spinach is it just gets done once there's a little bit of heat on it, so it's not anything you need to cook. You remember I washed it and kept it down so it's not, dried it off, so it's not grabbed a lot of water. If you didn't do that, by the time you're introducing it, it will bring another set of water, and you have to start cooking it again to get the water off. But in this case, we have nothing more to do. Once this gets into the heat of the liquid, it's ready. See that? So see the ones that were underneath, they are already done. That's spinach for you, so it doesn't require much from you at all. And the reason we steamed the fish again was to make sure the fish is ready, so that by the time we're adding it into the soup, it was ready to eat. Otherwise, you would have had to cook that fish to get the taste as well. So that's our soup ready. Didn't take up to 10 minutes. It's very easy soup once all your ingredients are ready. So now we're going to show you how you serve this and present it to your guest. So we finished our soup, and now what are you going to eat that with? You have so many choices. The choice we are going for is gari. Gari is just made from cassava. Oh, and I have a full idea how you make gari from cassava to this. But that's information for another day. So what we've done, we put water in a pot, it's boiling, and so we now start throwing in our gari powder into the setting. So you throw more into it. I'm going to lower my heat so I can start stirring this. Now there's so many different ways you can make your gari. This is just a way that I'm choosing to make this, to make it quicker. Otherwise, what we do is boil water, put in a bowl, and then put the gari in just the same way I've done with the pot. Now the difference with the pot and in a bowl is pot is still cooking, heat is still underneath it, and I'm just stirring. But in a bowl, there's no heat underneath it, and you just stir. Now what you then do with a bowl is, this is what we do, is you then put it in the microwave for like a minute, and then that helps to cook it better. But way back home, we don't do that. We just put the gari in the hot water bowl, stir, stir, stir. It's ready, everybody eats. So you see the difference between, well, you probably won't know the difference, but the difference here is this is a lot softer. You see how this is really like a bit drawy. Now that tells you that this has really cooked well. The other one doesn't draw, it's just plain straight on. I don't know what that means in explanation time, but I have an idea what I'm thinking about. So you see the fact that this can roll over, see that? So when I'm serving this is really ready. And that's because there was heat underneath it, and so it's a bit like cooking it. But that's gari done in no time, ready for eating.